News with Gina.
The News with Gina Grad.
So Major League Baseball has confirmed that it's considering playing the season at one neutral location and with no fans in attendance. There had been reports that the commissioner is considering starting the season in May and playing all the games at various fields around Arizona, but looks like they're still trying to work it out, but many are getting on this no crowd train.
The no crowd train.
Weird.
Seems weird.
That's the one from Chow Chill at Bakersfield?
Yeah, that's our super train, not the one in New Delhi.
Right.
The thing about baseball, I'm trying to think of what sport suffers the most. Now, the sport of baseball itself doesn't suffer as much as, I don't know, maybe basketball or football does, minus the crowd. But the reason to go to a baseball game is to drink some beers and eat some hot dogs, and it's a little less about the game, especially when it's game 41.
Right. The atmosphere.
A little less about. Yeah. It's an excuse to get out of the house, to get out of work on a Friday, to take your kid out there to eat some peanuts and carnation frozen malt with a wooden paddle that cracks every time. Like, it's that experience, whereas I guess you'd think of it this way. If you think about going to a basketball game, the first thing you think about is like, who's playing? Who's on that team? Who are the Lakers going to play? They're playing some scrub team that's, 20 games under 500, or are they playing a tough team? So you do that. And then you're like, who's on the court? Who's playing? Is LeBron in that game? Is he injured? Blah, blah, blah. And at a certain, then you might think about parking and a few other things, but at a certain point you'd get to food, But when you think baseball, the first thought you have is like, what am I going to eat?
Yep.
Yeah.
How many beers?
Ballpark snacks.
When do we get locked out? Does beer line get locked off in the 7th inning? When's the beer line?
Can't be too safe.
Right. Should I bring a flask? So you start thinking about food immediately, which means you're there for kind of the communal experience of eating some hot dogs and drinking some beer in a judgment-free environment on a weekday at noon. So it's going to hurt the fans, this one. I don't know that it'll affect the play, but it's definitely not going to be fun for the fans.
That's a good point. And we talked to Dr. Ray Kasheri every night, and he said if doctors got to choose which sport got to go back to work first, he would absolutely pick baseball, because there's almost zero interaction with the crowd. So you're not sitting courtside, you're not being sweat on, you are separated by barriers and nets, and it would probably be the safest to go back to.
Maybe some good will come out of this, and it'll put an end to the weird incessant spitting that these guys do. And it's like, like the worst is when they're just standing at home plate and they're like,
could they ever stop?
They just spit and they spit and they spit, and some of them are chewing seed and spitting, and others are just doing this weird licking thing where like, and it's like, please stop spitting all over the place all the time. Maybe we should mask on these guys, Brian.
I don't know if it's still a thing, but it used to be a thing. Chris can look it up. There used to be a lot of players who would do chewing tobacco mixed with bubblegum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they kind of. I don't know if that would mask the flavor. I don't know why. I really can't imagine.
I just can't believe there's a sport where you can eat while you're playing.
Oh yeah. A lot of them back in the day could smoke while they're playing. I mean, they'd sit on the bench and smoke. The skippers would smoke. These guys, I think they did away with the tobacco, but they replaced it with seeds.
Yeah, the sunflower seeds.
And they end up chewing it like it's like what vaping is to smoking a cigarette. It's like, well, it's not cigarettes, but you're still doing something. Yeah. And then there's a weird spitting, and the spitting is like through the center of the teeth. I don't know what it is.
Gleeking?
It's like it, but and I don't know why, other than you're bored, but let's stop that.
You should be bored.
I just got a text from the Laugh Factory saying, do you want to do stand-up? And I said, it said, do you want to do stand-up? There's only 4 people in the room. So
is it virtual? Would it be like broadcast over the internet?
Or those are 4 super important people.
Well, they really got to work out. Yeah, they really got to work out their material.
The guy that books the Tonight Show, There's a guy from Kimmel, the guy from Conan, the guy from Fallon. Those are only 4 guys.
Make them laugh.
He loves comedy.
That's right. So they said, you want to come out and do stand-up? There's only 4 people in the room. And I said, okay, how does it work? And they said, well, they stream it. Obviously they'll stream it. And I thought, okay, that'll be an experience. And then I said, what time? And they said,
Natalia swatted the phone out of your hands.
They said, yeah, she came around the corner like Charles Haley and just did went full Lawrence Taylor tomahawk on my blind side.
Strip sack.
You have to hire like a retired weak side tackle, the blind side guy, or
Tony Pacelli.
Yeah, he's got to keep an eye out. So, he said they broadcast it, I guess, and it's like at 2 to 4 in the afternoon. So imagine doing stand-up at 3 o'clock in an empty club.
Whew.
Seems like the opposite of everything you like to do. But I said, yeah, I'll give it a shot. So we'll work that out. We'll figure
when
it out.
is that?
I don't know. I got the text moments before we heated up and went on the air. So I just sort of sent him back and said, he said, what day? And I just said, I'll have to figure it out. So we'll have to figure it out.
Talk about events that are tough without a crowd. I think we found the ultimate
tough crowd
example. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you'd want to do material. I think you'd want to keep it to Corona, right? I think if you could. I mean, it's a tall order doing 20 minutes of new material, but I think we could do it.
Yeah, but you have all of the books to draw from.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're sort of pontificating and it's funny, that seems like that would be a great thing to do for this type of thing.
Gina's right. This is a great opportunity to break that rule. Don't tell stories, tell jokes. Fucking tell stories, man.
Yeah.
Tell all stories you want.
I shall. Sorry.
All right. Well,
Sorry,
Tylenol is quickly disappearing from store shelves everywhere because there's this debate going on within, just society, some of the medical community that you're not, or are you not supposed to be using ibuprofen for COVID-19 symptoms? That's sort of a hot debate right now. So everybody's buying Tylenol because some in the medical field say there's something about ibuprofen and Advil that's complicating these COVID-19 symptoms. And there's other doctors saying it makes no difference. But now that the debate's out there, the question has been raised. People are supermarkets sweeping the acetaminophen off the shelves, the Tylenol.
Mm-hmm. All my years, I still don't know the difference between which is what, and what the generic is for that. Never figured it out.
Acetaminophen is Tylenol, ibuprofen is Advil, and Advil is an anti-inflammatory, and the other one's just a fever reducer, as far as I understand.
Yeah, I have no relationship with that world whatsoever.
I have a Jewish mother, of course I know this.
Touched it. I don't know what to do, but it'd be nice if people didn't hoard. And I get the impulse. It's a human impulse. So there's a lot of human impulses, and what we're basically society to do is to go against your human impulses, which is I'm looking at things as my connection's unstable, but here it goes. I have an impulse to go to the beach, and now that it's empty, I really have an impulse to go to the beach, but we should deny that part where you get out of your car and go stand on the beach because we're asking people not to do that. But that's an impulse. And, look at the impulse to touch your face. Everyone's wrestling with, it's your impulse. Your impulse to touch your face. We're asking you to stop doing it. Your impulse is to get all the food and all the medicine and all the toilet paper, and it's all for you.
It's ingrained. We're hunter-gatherers. You get enough buffalo for the winter. You know what I mean?
Right.
For 18 winters.
So these things kind of bring out the worst impulse in many human beings. And so what we're asking, because essentially that's what a society is. A society is a whole bunch of people ignoring a lot of their impulses. You know what I mean?
You're right.
Your impulse is that parking space is mine. Yeah, but there's someone who was waiting for it before.
And it's not yours.
It's not yours. So give up on your impulses.
Well, and now, thank God, these grocery stores and pharmacies are finally having to regulate us for us because we can't be trusted. And it's a much more pleasant shopping experience. You go in and there are things there and people are moving slowly and they're not in attack mode because it says 1 item per customer or 2 items per customer. So you don't have to start, freaking out and elbowing people out of the way. You're only allowed to take 2 and move on. And that's what apparently we can't be trusted to do it another way.
Yeah, well, we've proven that under great conditions we can still be bad, and under stressful conditions it's a full fist fight in the electronics aisle of the Costco during the Black Wednesday or whatever it is. Like
Black Friday.
We can get ourselves into a lather pretty quickly.
Yeah,
we can spin out pretty fast.
You are right about that. Speaking of all these new rules, and, Steve kind of went over the numbers, so we'll skip those. But New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has doubled the maximum fine for breaking social distancing. So now in New York, if you're caught gathering or doing things you're not supposed to be doing, you can get a $1,000 fine.
I hear he's looking for that iconic couple, the one guy who was the sailor, the other gal that may have been the nurse. They were kissing in Times Square. I hear he's looking into seeing if they're still alive so he can go back and retroactively find them.
Make an example out of them.
That's right. An example.
Everybody in that whole damn Times Square Old Lang Syne group, because I think that was New Year's. And, of course, Chris Cuomo's still doing the show from the basement in his best hoodie.
Sorry, you were choppy. I think that picture's like they announced the Japanese surrendered or whatever.
Oh, I thought it was New
VJ
Year's.
Day, yeah, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
A Louisiana pastor, well, then I'm glad you didn't hear it. A Louisiana pastor charged for violating coronavirus bans held a Palm Sunday service with 1,220 congregants. I was just looking at one of the quotes from one of the parishioners that said, like, I'm protected because I'm protected by the blood of Jesus, which seems a little not really what Jesus was going for in terms of looking out for your neighbor.
Also, he could have had the coronavirus. We don't know.
That's true.
He cured the sick.
Yeah, he's working with those lepers and whores. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's a pretty dirty community. Also, as an ex-carpenter, I can tell you those guys aren't Purell based at all.
No.
So strike 3. So God knows what was in his blood is what I'm saying. I'm going to use her argument and talk about Jesus's tainted blood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Careful what you wish for.
That's
right.
Careful what you pray for.
That's right.
Dana White might be doing something kind of crazy. We talked about holding all these events and sporting events with no audience. He's going one further. He may have found a way to bring UFC back. He tells TMZ Sports he's closing a deal to host the fights on a private island. He says he's already locked up the location for UFC 249, which starts April 18th, but he's keeping it a secret. He'll run fights there every week for 2 months. Afterwards, he'll move the octagon to the undisclosed island where he'll fly international fighters in on private jets. White says that every person involved in the fights, from production staff to fighters, will be screened thoroughly. They have to have, I think below a 100.4 temp. And Joe Rogan should still be available to call the fights despite him having health concerns. So it's going to a private island, apparently.
100.4. People run that hot, huh?
I guess that seems to be the marker.
So here's all I want to say. I grew up, there's a lot of professional wrestling going on, and there's always this thing which is loser leaves town. Except for everyone was from out of town. So it really wasn't that tough. You know what I mean?
I'm leaving anyway.
Yeah. If I go to Wisconsin to do stand-up, they're like, okay, Carolla, but if you're not funny, you're leaving town. I'd be like, yeah, I am. Southwest, tomorrow, 7 a.m.
Either way.
So,
first flight out.
Leaving town, especially when you're in a shitty town where they're having these podunk kind of wrestling competitions, these smokers, not much of a threat. But how about this? Loser stays on the island. You can't go back home. You got a year on that island.
Right now, that should be the winner.
Well, let's up the ante is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is each guy gets paid. You know what I mean? You're doing, let's just say, big prize fight. For the sake of argument, Khabib's getting $10 million. Tony Ferguson's getting $10 million. You win, you get the belt and $10 million bucks, you get back on the private jet, and you go back to wherever you're from. You lose, you get the 10 million bucks, no belt, get back on the private jet and go back. It doesn't seem like enough for losing.
Right.
That's a good point.
I'm saying I want you to stay on that island. You've got to think about what you did wrong.
Real stakes.
You could do a full Rocky montage where you found a black friend to run along the beach with in slow motion and then hug in the waist deep in water.
Yeah.
Sure.
Awkward hug, yeah.
Little Castaway style. You don't know when someone's coming back for you.
Full Castaway.
Yeah.
We'll have boxes float up with skates in them and volleyballs and stuff like that. But you got to live off the fat of the land. Then we spin off this whole show like Ultimate Fighter. This is Ultimate Survivor.
Yeah.
Every week, once we get the critical mass, once we get 20 guys on this island, all living off the land, growing out beards, emaciated, missing their loved ones and
naked
children,
and afraid. Yeah.
naked and afraid. Then they go back into the octagon, and we have elimination fights to see who can fight their way off that island.
Who really wants to get home?
Who really wants it?
This is fantastic. I
watch
take back
the
everything
shit out of that.
That's great.
I would watch the shit out of that.
That'd be fantastic. The only reality show I watched.
It would be great. You'd have to fight your way off the island.
God,
Jeff
what would it
Probst
be
is
called?
waving a plane ticket. It's like, who wants it?
He's standing there with his choker, standing on the dock. He's got a ticket there. Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to come up with titles as fast as I can. You got any? You guys wouldn't know this. There's a musical called Once on This Island. Punch on This Island. I don't know, we gotta think of something. You gotta pitch it.
There's a dandy of a film called Cutthroat Island.
Okay.
At the time, the biggest bomb of all time.
That's right. Gina Davis, I believe.
Yep. Rennie Harlan.
And Matthew Modine.
Matthew Modine.
Yeah. So obviously Island is good. You know what I mean? I mean, you end with Island. In front of it, it's Elimination Island, Cutthroat Island, Fist Fight Island, Combat Island, that kind of stuff. We work it out. But nobody's getting, no losers getting off that island.
No.
I like it. This just in from Gary because you said Khabib. Just FYI, it's now Ferguson and Gaethje.
Oh, yeah, Khabib's not leaving Russia or whatever. That guy. First off, there's footage of him at age 9 wrestling a bear. He doesn't have delicate sensibilities. He literally, he grew up in a village where he was like encouraged to wrestle wildlife. They're literally
Nurmagomedov.
Yes, that's him. He comes from a place where, as a lad, he was encouraged to wrestle bears.
Yeah,
I swear to God, there's footage of that. I don't know why this guy can't go on an island with a rigorous screening process and fight for megabucks.
One of the limitations of my setup here is I can't listen to drops ahead of time, but I think this would be this. I think this would make a good tagline for our reality show.
I'll UFC you in hell, dude.
Oh, yes.
I'll UFC you in hell. Here's Khabib wrestling with a full-grown bear at age 9.
That's good.
On a dirt.
He's got his arm.
On a trash and dirt-filled floor. Nobody is worried about germs in this scenario. He is on a patch of littered dirt and something that ends with Stan, and he's wrestling a bear.
That is so adorable and terrifying at the same time.
He's age 6.
Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, so let's not worry about him being a germaphobe. That guy's immune system, first off, he's had other men's blood in his mouth since he was 9. You understand? Like when you're beating on some guy and you open a cut over that guy's face, like, I mean, you open a guy up big time with, guy's going to take 28 stitches above his brow, and that guy's above you. And he's got you, he's got full guard or position on you. That guy's just dripping blood onto you. Those guys get covered in each other's blood and sweat. Think about what his immune system is like every day.
He has the immune system of 100 men.
Every day he is wrestling with some other sweaty guy who's smashing his blood and sweat, and it's getting into his eyes. They don't wrestle with masks on or goggles or anything. There is shit going in that guy's face all day long. Every mucous membrane he owns has been violated. And he was raped by a bear.
You should be his hype man.
I think you are.
My
Adam
point
King.
is that guy couldn't get anything from anybody. Now get on a fucking plane and go to an island. There's something going on. It's Russia. We don't get any more info. I
It
don't know
stinks
what's
to high
going
hell.
on. There's something up. Why wouldn't that guy fight? Everyone's being tested. And again, you're in a sport where the other guys, the guys you deal with are it's a nonstop germ fest. Every one of those gyms. Yes, Gina. I mean, bald. Sorry.
This is better than Kyle Reese's speech in Terminator. Can't be reasoned with. He can't be bargained with.
He was raped by a bear at age 6.
He doesn't feel pity or remorse.
That is what I'm saying. So, Khabib, get on that plane. Because the whole thing is, Khabib is the guy. Ferguson is a guy, but the guy is Khabib, right? And so when you get rid of Khabib and you replace him with Gaethje, now you have a guy and a guy. And the thing about a big fight, go back to Muhammad Ali. Well, it would be Muhammad Ali fights guy you've never heard of, but it was still a Muhammad Ali fight. And so there was a chance that he could get beat by this guy you never heard of, and thus you'd tune in. These guys, Ferguson and Gaethje, are great fighters, but they're not what you've heard of, household namey stuff. So you need one of those guys. So you remove the guy we kind of want to see get beat. The Khabib is relatively unbeatable. And as I've said, when he's not being raped by a bear, he's jumping barefoot into the stands and attacking family members of other fighters. So this guy's not germ. He's not germ averse.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, hopefully more will come out about that because I think you're right. There's something going on there. J.K. Rowling, she's fully recovered after experiencing all the symptoms of coronavirus, even though she'd never been officially tested. Along with that news, she tweeted out this video of a doctor explaining how to relieve respiratory symptoms. She said the technique helped her a lot. I know there's lots of crazy videos going around, and one's telling you to stick hair dryers up your nose, and doctors are saying, please don't do that. But this is one that she tweeted out. I believe he's a nurse, and it's just a couple of breathing exercises either to prepare you for or when you already have these symptoms.
And I want you guys to start doing this if you have the infection right from the beginning. If you want to do it before you even pick up the infection, good idea. Anyway, the way it will work is you will take 5 deep breaths in, and each time you'll hold your breath for 5 seconds. On the 6th deep breath, you will take it in and you will do a big cough and covering your mouth. Okay, you will do this twice, and then you will then lay flat on your bed with a pillow in front of you, taking slightly deeper breaths for the next 10 minutes.
Hold
because
on.
you've got to understand.
Hold it. This is Sacha Baron Cohen.
Oh, no, I was fooled.
And you bite the pillow. You bite the pillow.
Come
Oh,
on.
you didn't let me finish.
And then you're penetrated by a mop handle. Now, film this and put it up on the Zoom network.
With hashtag.
Okay. Hashtag. Yeah. All right.
So basically what he's saying, because I had to watch it a couple times to make sure, 2 times you do 2 reps of this, 5 deep breaths or 6 or whatever. On the last one, you cough out as much as you can, and then you lay on your stomach, not on your back, because he said people don't really realize this. A lot of your lung capacity is in your back. So you lay on your stomach and do this again with deeper breaths, just to push out whatever, I don't know, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but to push out whatever gunk or shit lies at, dormant at the bottom of your lungs. But that's what J.K. Rowling retweeted. She said it helped her. So you never know, and it's a lot less dangerous than sticking a hairdryer up your nose, which was also going around.
Weren't we just angry at her for something? She defended some person.
Oh, God forbid.
Yeah,
for
she
the
was in the news
transgender thing.
3
Yeah.
weeks ago or something, right before this whole thing started, it feels like.
Then she's
Yeah.
the winner of COVID-19.
She's a winner.
There's a she just missed it because she said something about some transgender thing, and then she got taken out to the woodshed and beaten by society, and then this thing cropped up. But maybe now that she got it, she gets some sympathy points. She's under fire for defending a woman who lost her job after saying trans women aren't real women. That was that's what she got initially beaten for. But I think she just missed her window of winner for COVID-19. Right. Although we did kind of forget about it.
That's ultimately a win in her book.
Yeah, it happened sort of outside the window of the virus, but. Again, they're winners that happen within the window of the virus, and then they're winners who we got inundated with so much information we just flushed out everything that happened a month before.
That's right.
All right, Gina, you do one more. I'm going to look for something that's at my feet. So
you got it. Tori Spelling has announced she's doing a virtual meet and greet for 20 fans. Pretty exciting. The only catch is
she has 20 fans.
Well, hopefully for her, $95 a pop. Not surprisingly, Spelling's venture caused an almost immediate backlash on social media, with followers angry about the steep price during a time when so many don't have jobs and they're struggling and there's a pandemic. The reality star and husband, Dean McDermott, have been plagued by their own financial issues for years. She's been sued twice by American Express for failing to pay her balances of $38,000 on one, $88,000 on the other. And in 2017, the couple was sued by City National Bank for failing to make monthly payments on a loan. They have 5 kids, 13, 11, 8, 7, and 3. So, while everyone's jumping on Cameo, I'm on Cameo, by the way, not birthday or anything, and, doing it this way, she wanted to do a special meet and greet and charge almost $100 a pop.
Attention, Tori Spelling. Attention, Tori Spelling's disgruntled fans. Gina's available for much cheaper.
For a song. I love doing
things. I got thoughts. Sorry, I'm looking for a spot. I got a pile of paper and it dropped off. But anyway, Tori Spelling, first off, her dad was unreasonably rich.
But
insanely rich. And he had a house in Holmby Hills that was across the street from the Playboy Mansion that had to be, when it sold, it had to sell for $57 million. If it sold for a penny. Then there's Candy Spelling, the mom. Yeah. And Candy Spelling is nuts and vindictive and whatever, and took the money and got herself a luxury condominium on Wilshire Boulevard and put all the money into that, and I guess has cut off Tori. Candy is Tori's biological mom, I believe.
Yeah.
You could see this kind of shit happening with the trophy wife who came along when
last minute.
Yeah, the biological daughter was 17 and a half, and a chick who showed up was 31, and there was a lot of daggers and arguments and never got on, and then the dad passed away, and now she's got all the money and blah, blah, blah. But I do believe she's the biological mom. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what happened with those two. But, my mom doesn't have a pot to piss in, so I can talk all the shit I want. If she had a $55 million house and dad died, I'd be kissing some ass. So I don't know where Tori is. I don't know how this rift came about, but there's no way the family doesn't have money. Even in syndication with all the Love Boats and all that.
90210.
It's so he generated so much. Aaron Spelling generated so much money over the course of his career, and those checks still have to be piling in. So what happened? And then what about the brother?
Yeah. Well, the first two things that come up, Showbiz Cheat Sheet and Mercury News, both say Tori inherited just $800,000 from her dad, and it says both of the kids just inherited a tiny fraction of their dad's $500 million fortune.
Well, of course it would go to Candy Spelling. Right? Because she was still alive.
Right. But, he could have set up a trust for his kids.
Well, yeah, he could have. Well, but here's the whole thing. So what's up with Candy? So if Candy has more money than God and she's 77 and a half, what's going on? And
here's it.
You know who would probably know this is AJ Benza.
That's true.
He knows Tori pretty well.
Allegedly.
He doesn't like telling tales out of school, though, Brian.
Maybe just this once we can squeeze some info from him.
He plays it pretty close.
I know. What if you just called him like as though you're just calling for a friend, but like it's actually being recorded? Like, he didn't know it was being broadcast. Maybe he'd come forth.
We'll see if we can coax him out of his shell. Sorry. Yes, we should talk to AJ. Make a note, Maxipata. How old is Tori? How old is Candy? How much is Candy worth? And why can't Candy kick something down to Tori? Not that Tori deserves it, but what is the rift? I think there's a rift there.
46
yeah, I'm
and
looking
74.
at a very clickbait headline from 2014 that says, quote, Tori can drop $60,000 in one store. Candy Spelling reveals why her daughter only received $800,000 of her famous father's inheritance. But I'm not really seeing an answer, so that's why I'm saying it's a little clickbaity. But I am seeing, as I scan, this is Tori 41, and this was in 2014.
She's 46 now, and
yeah,
Candy's
so
74.
she's openly discussed her efforts to tighten her belt in recent months, despite reporting having celebrated daughter Stella's 6th birthday, $6,000. I mean, this can't come down to Candy's belt tightening.
No.
Let's
All
see.
right. Well, either way, boo-hoo. Wait a minute. How would that sound if, Grad, don't think of her name.
Wah. You know how many people are struggling right now, Adam? There are real problems out there. I can't worry about Candy and Tori Spelling and which one got almost $1 million and which one got almost $1 billion. I got to focus on my kids. I got to focus on this pandemic. I got to focus on my faith.
Hey, Nancy
Yes.
Grad, Tori Spelling and Candy Spelling are alive. Aaron Spelling, not alive. You know, he seemed in pretty good health, even for an older man. And all of a sudden, he just comes up dead, and this multi-million-dollar fortune goes right to Candy, and nobody ever looked into it. I haven't seen an autopsy report. Have you?
Adam, I'm so glad you said that. You have opened Pandora's box. I have been screaming this to the high heavens for years. What did happen to Aaron Spelling, and why is Candy so happy about it?
He was a spry 89.
He had the world at his fingertips. He had his whole life ahead of him. Everybody knew it. Everybody had designs on him. Everybody wanted their claws in him. He was doing just fine. And all of a sudden, he mysteriously disappears. What? I'd like to see that autopsy. I'd like to see that coroner's report.
He was cut down in his prime. And
I couldn't agree more.
Here's more proof. He was murdered. He was planning on doing other things.
That's right. That's absolutely right. He had business meetings. I have the paperwork. I have the receipts. I have the phone calls that he was taking other meetings to do other projects. So you tell me, is this foul play or is this foul play?
He had a project, I happen to know, that was already in pre-production called Love Shuttle. It was the love boat in outer space.
And it was going to make
celebrities
millions.
and put them on a shuttle.
That's right.
There was a character that was sort of like Elon Musk. I don't want to say too much about it, but he was working on this stuff. He was a spry 89, cut down in his prime. And again, I'm not saying there isn't an autopsy report. I'm saying I've never seen it. Have you?
No, I haven't. And you know, I bet you dollars to donuts, Adam, if you were to look out onto the backyard of that beloved Mr. Spelling, you would just see one swinging back and forth with nobody on it. That's where Aaron was taken. And I intend to prove it.
Yeah, it's a 127-year-old grandmother or mother, I should say's nightmare is what it is.
That's
to have your 89-year-old boy cut down in his prime that way. I say we exhume the body. Yes. I say we go to Forest Lawn and we look into this because
I think you know, and I think I know that this was foul play. And I, Nancy Grace, am devoting a brand new show, prime time, on the HLN network to what the hell happened to Aaron Spelling. Friday nights at 9 p.m.
We'll be watching. All right, Gina, let's bring it home.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.
Well,